hearing your voice and I'm also hearing
Mm.
over the microphone. So maybe if you lean back a little, hear so much of that. I don't know. We could try. I mean, it just sounded your voice sounded very muffled.
Okay.
Whoever was speaking on the mic, but I think everybody started doing this instead of sitting back and talking back.
We can't be too far back because if you are,
Well, you can't get too far, but you can't do this either. And I have a tendency
don't do that.
make believe I'm Frank Sinatra. So maybe if we can
A pen's length away.
a respectful distance.
Is that good?
That's better, yes.
Is that better?
Yeah, because I can hear you. I can hear your voice not being broadcast.
Okay.
We'll try. Thank you for your indulgence.
6 inches. Yeah.
Others are-
All right. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this caucus meeting in the Kingston Common Council. I will call us to order here at 7:06. This is our first meeting in person in a very long time. So Doug can't hear, but you can hear twice. Yes. Before we get started, I would like to acknowledge that it has been a long time since we've all been here together. I would like for us to take a moment, if everybody is willing, of silence to note the huge changes that we've been through, the number of people that we have lost to COVID, and to the deep social dislocations that have occurred that we're now trying to bridge and overcome. So if everyone would just take a moment of silence and think about those issues, I'd appreciate it. Thank you for that. And I want to thank also everyone, particularly Alyssa, in the technology department who has guided us through all of the crazy virtual meetings that we've had to have. And hopefully this is working tonight. Those of you who are watching, we are in the process of radically improving our ability to capture meetings as well as to live stream them. So we're trying to enter into the modern age as quickly as possible. I would like to thank too Kyle McIntosh for all the work he did, trying to help us keep our computers working throughout the whole crisis when we had our virtual meetings. And I would like to thank each of the members of the Common Council as well for your dedication, for your consistent good humor through a very difficult process. So now that we're here back in person, we can get started with our caucus meeting. There's a lot to get. So we will start at the beginning and go all the way. The first resolution, 116, is a request for a transfer in the city clerk's office in the amount of $2,000 to pay the expense of replacing the electrical boxes on the bulkhead of the city docks. Anybody got questions about this one? Really clear here, the importance of this? Yes? All right, good. 117 is a request for $14,000 from contingency to cover the expense of traffic control construction, that is for stop signs. Any discussion, questions on this one? Anybody opposed to this?
I'm going to presume, Ray, all of these transfers have no.
The question was financial impact. Resolution 117 does have a financial impact of $14,000. It's coming from contingency.
Without looking ahead, I'm presuming all these budget transfers will
Most,
be zero impact.
I believe all the other ones, yeah, they're either budget transfers within the department or they are requests for the power to apply for a grant.
Okay.
Great. So 118 is a transfer in the Parks Department in the amount of $5,000 for expense of supplies and equipment for the beach and pool season. Everyone okay with that? Great. 119, requesting a transfer in the Parks and Recreation Department for $60 to cover the cost of signage for the Kenneth G. Bryant Junior Memorial Basketball Courts. I'm presuming everyone is okay with that. Again, no financial impact. 120, requesting a transfer in the Parks and Recreation Department in the amount of $1,500 to cover the cost of movies under the stars this summer. If your packet's like mine, there's a couple of extra sheets relating to the explanation from Lindsay Timbrook. So just note that you may have a couple of extra items there. They're just extraneous. All right, number 121, requesting an amendment to change the word Freon, which is a brand name, to the generic term refrigerant. Is everybody okay with this one? Assuming so. 122, requesting a transfer of $168 in the assessor's office to cover the cost of data processing. Again, no financial impact here. Everybody okay with that one? All right. 123, authorizing the mayor to expend funds to execute documents for the NISDEC Urban and Community Forestry Grant for a citywide tree planting project. This is moving $50,000 from a grant to the ability to spend it. So no financial impact on that one. Plus we're getting a bunch of trees. Very important for us here. All right, 124. Adopting the standard work days for elected officials in the New York State retirement system. This is just some administrative work here. The next several items are part of the consolidated funding applications. So these are requests. These are requests for approval to apply for certain grants. 125 is for a grant of $770,000 to construct the Kingston Point Park Phase 2 project. Everybody okay with this one? Any questions, concerns relating to that one? Tony Davis?
Since I was not at the last finance meeting, what's the phase 2 part of it? Can you explain that? If anybody knows. I have any objections to it. I just wanted this for my.
Right. So there's two components. The first is to design and construct a wetland at Kingston Point. This includes relocation and drainage improvements to and potential milling, regrading, and repaving of the flooded half of the existing main parking lot on the south side of Delaware Avenue, which also floods during high tide. All right. 126. So everybody okay with that one? 126 is another grant request in the amount of $500,000 to construct Kingston Point Rail Trail Phase 2. And this is to begin at Garrigan Drive Trailhead, located across 9W from the police station. It follows the historic rail line and ends at the intersection of the railroad tracks with East Strand Street, just east of the wastewater treatment plant. So this is to extend the pathway there. Okay, everybody clear on that one? Any questions, concerns on that? All right, 127, authorizing the mayor to submit an application to the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation for an Environmental Protection Fund Parks Program, $5 million for health and safety repairs and upgrades to the Dietz Stadium grandstand and exterior envelope. So this will include resurfacing. I'm sorry, it's $500,000. There's an extra zero there. So Elissa, if you'll note in the title for resolution 127, it's the amount is 10 times too big. Right. So this is a resurfacing of the seating, repair to cracks and exposed, reinforcing steel and then concrete, resealing of expansion joints, masonry repointing, replacement of concrete coping, replacement of railings, and addition of handrails at the steps. All right, everybody okay with that request? All right. 128 is a request from the same organization for the Trails Program in the amount of $250,000 to purchase trail maintenance equipment for City of Kingston parks. These will enable DPW to properly maintain the expanding system of recreational trails throughout the city's parks. DPW's existing heavy equipment used for plowing and mowing is too wide to navigate the narrow trail system. Smaller machinery is needed to plow, mow, sweep, and generally keep trails clear and safe for users year-round. All right, again, these are requests. Everybody okay with that one? The next one, 129. Is a request for a grant up to $10 million to implement improvements to the Kingston wastewater treatment plant. This again is related to our Speedies permit, and so we have to get this work done. All right, so everybody okay with 129? Resolution 130. We now are moving into some just general supports that two different local groups are asking for their grant requests to funding agencies. So this one is requesting our support for a grant by the Rayer Center to allow for the repairs and upgrades to the exterior envelope of the Rayer Center's building at 101 Broadway. Everyone good with that one? There's no financial impact to the city with that one. 131 is endorsing support for TransArt and Cultural Services Incorporated for a grant from the New York State Empire State Development Market New York program for a marketing initiative to promote the Pinkster Festival in 2022. Again, no financial impact to the city. We're simply expressing our support. Assume everyone's okay with that one. 132, similar, is also from TransArt and Cultural Services Incorporated for a grant for restoration of the Burger Matthews House at 105 to 107 Henry Street. Everybody okay with that support? All right. Resolution 133, we're going to have to do a little bit of work on this one tomorrow night, apparently. This is authorizing.
We're good with this one.
What's
As
that?
written, it's good as written.
Oh, we're going to go as written. Okay, all right. As written, so this is authorizing adding additional lettering to the facade of Kingston Police Headquarters and a plaque inside Kingston Police Headquarters honoring the late Kingston Police Chief James Riggins. Everybody okay with this one? Any questions, concerns? All right. 134 is an ordinance, amending an ordinance relating to this is about adding handicap parking on Wall Street. Everybody okay with that one? So this was the one for ARC, right? That's finance, I mean, public safety committee, right?
Does it include in this wording that it will remain, does it have to, that it will remain as a paid meter park?
Oh,
Has to be
this is
included?
for the lawyer.
Does that
Yes,
have-
this space will remain as paid meter parking.
Is it in here?
That's in the,
It's on my committee report. I wasn't sure if it had to be on the actual resolution.
oh. Does,
Janet would have written it, so if it needed to be on it, it would have been on it.
Okay.
So we should be good.
Okay.
Putting a lot of trust in Janet.
all right. Okay, resolution 135. This is a request to increase the bond ordinance relating to the Henry Street project, Safe Routes to Schools project, to use bluestone on 2 blocks of Henry Street as opposed to concrete. questions, concerns, discussion on this one? Tony Davis?
Yes, and again, I apologize, I wasn't on finance, but and what was the reasoning for, in the shortened version, that they want to do bluestone instead of concrete?
Yeah, so there's,
Stone already there?
in some spaces, I will note that Greg went out and knocked on doors and was trying to find out what residents along there wanted. And if I remember correctly, 5 residents said they would prefer bluestone, 5 residents said they would prefer concrete, 2 residents had no opinion, and all of the others were either absent or they're properties that are owned by people who do not live in Kingston. So we got no resolution from the survey of the property owners there. They're equally split. And the discussion had a lot to do with the relationship of these 2 blocks with the historic district. So there's some question about whether the historic district that goes along Fair Street actually includes the sidewalk on one side of Henry Street or stops just short of it. So there's some debate about that. The general sense of the committee was that for those 2 blocks, we should definitely put in bluestone despite the increased cost. So it's a question of historic. And the other issue is that there's a building, rather, a house across Henry Street from where the Fair Street Historic District stops. And that house is actually quite historic. It's a really old house. So it seems appropriate for that house definitely to have bluestone, but that was the nature of the discussion.
All right, thank you.
Does anybody have anything else to add from our discussion about that? Okay. I'm glad to say this is going a lot faster than the actual Finance Committee meeting where we discussed most of this. We did such good work then. It made it easy for tonight. All right. 136. This is to remove a traffic signal at the intersection of Greenkill Avenue at Wilbur Avenue and adding an all-way stop intersection. Again, this was in public safety, right? Do you want to tell us a little bit about that one?
Well, it was sent back after it passed out. Then it was sent back and to committee to have more discussion in regard to. There were some questions that came up about the signage at night, and we had a lengthy discussion with City Engineer John Schulteis, who stated that these signs would not be affected by the night, night light. The always stop signs would not be affected by that. And there's also, consideration, discussion about the cost to remove the lighting versus the light that was there versus installing all-way and stop signs, and substantial and reducing costs to maintain the lights there, a stoplight, and especially this one's not up to date, so it would have to be a new one versus just putting in all-way stop signs.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was what the discussion was, that reason why it was sent back to, some of the reasons why it was sent back to committee, that after this discussion with the city engineer, it was passed out.
Okay. Any questions, discussion, concerns? Anybody against this particular one? Okay. All right. Resolution 137 is adding a loading zone. This is in front of the E Square building to make it easier for parents and guardians to drop off and pick up children and others in the CCE building there. I mean, in front of the CCE facility. Are we okay with this one? Yes, okay. And resolution 138. Do you want to tell us about this one, Tony?
Just going back to 137, just to make sure it's saying that what's passed out of resolution is going to be a time limit on and this zoning and from, I believe, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And that was not what was requested originally. And then again, and sent back to committee, and after a lengthy discussion and with the representative from RUPCO and the city engineer and the committee, and we came up with a proposal for the resolution of 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. All right. So in regard to 138, again, loading zone at 3 Wall Street, again, just in regard to the ARC at Mid Hudson and unloading up there on Wall Street, and they don't have a designated location and the drop off and their clients. And since the back of the property and building where they used to drop them off, it's owned by someone else who put up a fence. And so, so the only access they have is on Wall Street to be to unload and load their clients onto there. So therefore, we're left side of the meter, certain location Monday through Friday, again, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. in order to be able to drop, unload and load and members of the ARC of Mid Hudson.
But in effect, we are taking out one paying spot, right? Because this would be a loading zone now, so there would not be a parking meter at that spot.
Correct.
Okay. Questions, concerns? Everybody okay with this one? It's unfortunate, but I think we have to do it. Yes. Great. 139, prohibiting the use of all-terrain vehicles on public and city-owned properties and referring the same to Finance and Audit Committee for consideration of related fees and fee schedules. Everybody okay with this one? $139. Okay, 140 is, oops.
And one regard to 139, this
Yeah.
is this, and this came from laws and rules. And could you just explain this, Jeffrey?
Sure. So we had a presentation from Police Chief Tinty. He gave us the example of a similar legislation that was passed in Albany recently, prohibiting the use of ATVs on all city streets, city parks and trails, basically any city-owned property. So the committee agreed to make that change in our code, and at the next meeting, I believe we'll be discussing what the definition of ATV is. There were some questions about whether that includes golf carts, etc.
This resolution is just in regard to ATVs.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Great. 140 is also laws and rules. This is to refer to the Finance and Audit Committee for the purpose of establishing a hotel licensing fee. Jeffrey, you want to tell us about this one?
Sure. So we recently changed some definitions of what a hotel is in our code, and this would be to basically be in line with what the county has. And the next step would be for to require people that operate hotels, bed and breakfast, Airbnb within the city to get a license to operate those. And I believe then it's going to finance, I don't know if it was on your special meeting today, so it's going to finance this month to discuss what the fees for the license would be.
All right, everybody good with that one? All right, 141 is an article to prohibit parking at EV charging stations. This was also laws and rules. You want to tell us about this one, Jeffrey?
Sure. So apparently the city has received a lot of complaints about people parking long-term on the electric vehicle charging stations. I think Albany, I mean, the state already has legislation prohibiting parking on those. So this is just to conform our city code with what the state already has.
Steve Shabbat?
Yeah, so are we gonna put notifications at these sites that you're not allowed to park there?
That is something that was asked. Julie Noble gave a presentation. They would say in conjunction with changing the code, there will be an education campaign also. I believe they'll put up signs at the EV charging stations saying that parking is prohibited there.
We got this one. Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Oh, Tony, sorry.
So Jeff, and couldn't hear down here. So there is going to be signage put up at all these charging stations?
I believe so.
And who would be handling that? DPW or Julie? No.
I'm not sure. The presentation was done by Julie Noble. So I believe the request came from the Sustainability Office. So I'm not sure who'll be handling putting up the signs.
My only question is that before we can penalize someone, we got to make sure that signage is up before we can penalize people for parking there.
Right.
I don't know if you know, Jeffrey, what are the penalties? Is it like parking in a no parking zone? Or-
Yeah, I believe that has to go through finance also to decide what the,
Okay, so
what
we're not quite
what the
sure
fine is.
What
Right.
the actual penalty?
We passed that out of finance.
No,
That's
it's
what we did.
$20,
Yeah, that's what we just
What is
passed
it?
out of special finance.
$20.
Oh, $20.
And then it rises after 15 days to $40. Yeah, that was all the way back an hour and a half ago. Mhm. Great. So there are in fact a couple of other resolutions that are not on here. First is resolution 142. This is approving the settlement between the city of Kingston and 3 of the defendants in the Washington Avenue Tunnel lawsuit. This will have a positive financial impact, $70,000. Everybody okay with that one? We like that, yes. Now I have materials here from Laws and Rules about the anti-idling issue. So that wasn't resolved, right? Or I don't see a resolution here.
No, it was postponed.
Okay.
So there was some suggestions of changing some of the language on the proposal. So Julie Noble will be working on that and we'll be discussing it at the next Laws and Rules.
All right, and then
I don't have 140, 142.
we just got it tonight.
All right, okay.
And at finance tonight, we approved 4 items. Where did I put that? So do we have numbers yet for the 4 items we approved tonight? All right, so this one will be 143. This is to change the Kingston code. This is what we're just talking about regarding EV charging stations as per attached. And so the amount will be, as I noted, initial fine of $20 and a fine of $40 after 15 days. Everybody okay with that one? Yes. What will be the next one then? This is the contract Peaceful Guardians Project to conduct meetings with Kingston constituents and stakeholders to develop 1- and 5-year implementation programs as per attached. And to provide funding for the Peaceful Guardians Project proposal, we recommend the following budgetary transfer from contingency in the amount of $20,000 to Contracted Services Police Department. This $20,000 is coming out of the $100,000 that we included in this year's contingency budget precisely for follow-up to the re-envisioning police task force report that Peaceful Guardians led back at the beginning of the year. All right. So the idea here is to develop a program with a 1-year implementation and another program with a 5-year implementation window, so that we'll be able to follow through with some of the recommendations, particularly those relating to police and community trust and connection. All right, everybody okay with that one? Next, we sort of touched on this one already. This had to go through the finance. This is an ordinance to amend the city code and fee schedule to change all instances of the brand name Freon to the substance name refrigerant. So finance had to do this too, just because it's in the fee schedule. Everybody okay with that one? All right. Last of all then, here is resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, authorizing the adoption of an additional bond ordinance for the sum of $240,000 for the Elmendorf Bridge project construction and construction inspection costs, and making a finding that the project is a type 2 action under state environmental quality review seeker, in other words. So $240,000. So a couple of weeks ago, the city engineer opened up all the bids for the reconstruction and design of the Elmendorf Street Bridge. And they were all higher than the $800,000 he originally estimated. To a great extent, we're paying the COVID premium. One of the costs that was greatly increased was for concrete, but there were other costs that were higher as well. Demolition is causing the expected. Part of the problem there is that the bridge contains asbestos, he told us tonight. So that means that DPW or the usual kind of process for demolishing something like that can't be followed. They have to take extra special care because of the asbestos. So, John Toohey pointed out that this would be paid off over 20 years, so the cost would be about $12,000 a year for this addition. And also he said that the construction, they would be able to okay the construction within the next week or two. Construction could get started very soon and would be finished by this November. So this construction season, that's what he told us tonight. All right, so everybody okay with that one? All right, then. The very last thing here is the second reading of Local Law 2, an amendment to Local Law 5 of 2016, amending Ethics, Chapter 49, Section 5, qualifications of members of the Ethics Board of the Code of the City of Kingston. Everybody okay with that one? This is the second reading, so we will be voting on it. Yes? Okay. Great. If there are no other comments, questions, issues, we'll consider our caucus meeting here adjourned. Thank you for being here. Good to see you all in 3 dimensions, and I look forward to